YouTube, DroidFreak here, and this is my charged creeper farm design. It's nearly completely automatic. All you have to do to use it is replace any boats that have been destroyed by lightning and AFK in this minecart. The farm will take care of the rest. It spawns mobs, sorts out creepers, distributes the creepers into cells, detects when a creeper gets charged, and sends the charged creepers into the center. Although this video calls itself a tutorial, I'm not going to go through the block by block building of this thing, because that would take a very long time, and you'd come away still not knowing how it works. Instead, I'm going to explain how the farm works in detail and give you a world download so you can check it out yourself. First of all, let me establish the basic geometry of this thing. The business end of the farm is a giant platform on top to collect lightning strikes. The platform consists of 80 7x7 squares arranged in an 8x10 grid. The center of each 7x7 square is the location of a creeper cell. The platform works out to be 56 by 70 blocks total, but keep in mind the fact that it's composed of squares, and the center of each square is important. 9 blocks underneath the platform, running lengthwise along its center, is a rail. It doesn't have to be all powered rails like this one, but make sure it has enough powered rails that the minecart travels from one end to the other and back in under 30 seconds. This rail is where the player AFKs, and is here to prevent creepers in the 80 creeper pens from despawning. As long as the player passes within 32 blocks of each creeper every 30 seconds, they won't despawn.
Now that we have those two structures as a reference point, let's get started with the actual mechanisms. The first thing a creeper sees during its time in the farm is the inside of the mob farm. It doesn't really matter what mob farm you build here, but needless to say, the more efficient your mob farm is, the better. For my tests, I use my stackable flushing mob farm, which I made a tutorial on a while ago, but if you want to use another design, that should work too. My advice would be to use a flushing or piston-based design, since they won't depend on the mobs wandering off pads, but any reasonable mob farm design will work. The mob farm should be placed in such a way that it is at least 24 blocks from the nearest part of the rail, and no more than 128 blocks from the farthest part of the rail, so I placed it below the center of the farm. It should also be placed far enough below the rail that Endermen can't teleport up onto the rail if your design allows Endermen to spawn like mine does. If Endermen are able to teleport their way up onto the platform, they will disturb the boats and screw up everything, so don't let that happen. It's also worth noting that for the mob farm to work effectively, you need to eliminate all other mob spawning spaces within 32 blocks of the rail at least, and ideally within 128 blocks of the rail. In my test world, this is accomplished by a perimeter cleared down to the void, but in survival this involves building the farm high in the sky or lighting up caves. If your mob farm allows spiders to spawn, you'll want to separate those guys out quickly. A spider separator like this one allows spiders to climb or be pushed out through short, wide holes, and only allows one wide mobs to continue along the water stream. Those spiders should be immediately killed to allow more creepers to spawn, so I drop them into the void or burn them with lava. They could all be killed with lava in survival. Once you have just one wide mobs, send them along to a water elevator. At the bottom of the elevator, I also separate out baby zombies, since they are too short to climb the elevator. They simply fall out the bottom of the elevator here, since they don't catch the water. The water elevator and connected water streams bring the two tall mobs to a mob sorter to separate out the creepers. Any reliable mob sorter design should work. The more reliable, the better. This design is based off a design by the Zip crowd, but simplified to be more practical in this situation. I drop the mobs on top of the slime block, so they don't take fall damage, and let them wander around this platform. If a creeper falls in here, it should see the cats over here and run away. When it runs to this platform on the far side, it should make it over these soul sand blocks and into this water stream. If a zombie falls in here, he heads straight for the villager every time and ends up in this slit. If a skeleton falls in here, it should see these dogs and run into the same slit as the zombies, but sometimes they don't. If they slowly walk towards the dog, they fall in this slit and are killed. If by some freak of AI they love puppies and run towards them, they end up in the creeper slit. When that happens, the only way to call them out is to actually kill them with dogs. Witches are much the same as skeletons, except they won't run away from dogs or be killed by them. They usually wander into one of the reject slits, but if they decide to sprint across to the creeper slit, there's nothing I can do about it. Luckily, they are rare enough that they don't cause much of an issue. An important note about the mob sorter in this farm is that it has to be within 32 blocks of the rail for mob AI to work properly, which is why it couldn't be down at the bottom of the mob farm with the spider separator. Once the creepers have been sorted out, they are brought up another water elevator and distributed to the 80 creeper cells. I do this with 8 water streams that run the length of the farm, each one passing 10 creeper cells.
As each cell fills up, the water stream is diverted past it towards the next cell, and as each row of cells fills up, the water stream is diverted past that row to the next row. The redstone to do this has two distinct parts. The diversion past each cell is handled by this circuit here. After a creeper steps on this pressure plate, this repeater delays for 4 ticks, then this sticky piston closes off the cell, and this normal piston retracts to allow the water to continue on to the next cell. The reason why the cell door has to be a sticky piston is that if it wasn't, the creeper could stand inside the piston head instead of on the pressure plate. Using the solid block forces the creeper onto the pressure plate. The closing off of each row is handled by a torch below each cell, which powers this line of redstone and repeaters. As long as one of the cells in a row is empty, this line will be powered by one of the torches. At the end of the line is a pair of pistons similar to the pistons that block off each cell. This piston is retracted as long as there's an empty cell, and this piston is extended until all the cells are full. When all the cells fill up and the line turns off, the two pistons switch and the water passes by. Now that we have the creepers distributed into cells, we just need to detect when they get charged and collect the charged creepers in the center. This is done with a boat directly on top of each creeper cell. When the creeper is struck by lightning, the boat will also be struck and destroyed. Each boat sits in the corner of a wooden pressure plate, so when it's destroyed, the pressure plate is deactivated. That pressure plate in turn powers two pistons. One of these pistons holds the creeper cell closed, so when the creeper is struck, the cell opens on this side, and the creeper is free to walk into this water stream. The other piston is sticky and holds this redstone block. When the creeper is struck, this redstone block retracts, allowing this torch to turn on. As long as this torch is on, the redstone on the other side thinks that a creeper is still in the cell. If this torch wasn't here, the redstone on the other side would fill this cell with another creeper, and that ordinary creeper would be free to walk into the charged creeper water stream. That water stream runs down to the far end of the farm, where it falls into a common stream with the other 6 that run the length of the farm. That common stream then deposits the creepers into a single central repository. And that completes the design of this farm. If you need to examine the details of the mechanisms, a world download is available in the YouTube description. And if you have any questions to ask me, ask them in the YouTube comments or on Reddit. That's all for this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.